Okay, what's up people? Welcome back to another stream. Hope everyone is doing well. As always guys, if you're enjoying the content, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Make sure you do check out the Discord link to Elevating Traders linked in the description below. You can join the community there, chat with other traders, chat with myself, share ideas. Of course, I share some ideas there as well. So if you are interested, go check it out. Links in the description. But guys, welcome back to another stream. I can see Yusuf's been very busy in the chat there. Hope you're doing well. What is up? I'll go through your questions after I go through the USD pairs first. We'll take a look at the dollar, USD majors, gold and silver, and I'll get through your questions. What's up, Raphael? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Pound CAD shorts from current price, where to put TP and stop loss, use 30 longs as well. Okay, yeah, I'll go through all of those questions and pairs as well. Of course, any other pairs or any particular time frames you want me to look at, let me know in the chat, and of course we'll take a look at it. But first, I will go through the dollar side of things and see what's happening in that department. So where we left off yesterday, I believe price was trading in that area there, and yeah, we didn't really see too much movement, to be honest, with the dollar. For the most part, we were just kind of trading at support. I do still expect to see a lot more downside for the USD, hence I'm still looking for a push back into the swing low here just below 98. So that's still very much the plan there for USD this week, at least for myself anyway. But we are finding support here. We are finding support. We are seeing some rejection that could take us higher. So I did say yesterday on stream that we could be looking for a pullback into this zone where price might look for another lower high and a continuation. I think if we can look at this from like a 15-minute or an hourly perspective, that does look like a nice zone to be contemplating a short pullback into this area and then perhaps a continuation. Depends how we pull back, of course, depends how price reacts with that zone, whether it actually does present some nice shorting opportunities or not, which we'll see as price develops. But it does look like support is holding very well here. So I do think we can see potentially some upside there for USD. I do think it will be in the short term though, because as I've just mentioned, I do expect this to be the bigger move for the US dollar. But for now, we are finding support. So I wouldn't be looking for shorts just yet. If we could push higher, find resistance, maybe around 99.4, that could present some nice shorting opportunities, especially intraday, to swing it back into support, excuse me, and then hopefully back into the swing low at 98. So still very much the plan there for the dollar. Again, the overall expectation is that this bearish trend is still very much in full swing of things, and there's no signs of reversal just yet. So naturally expecting us to drift back to the low and eventually break through that support. So looking at Euro USD, pretty much expect the exact opposite. Excuse me. And a swing back into the resistance here, as of course this has a pretty long-term uptrend at play here. Again, no significant signs of reversal just yet. So naturally still expecting price to push higher. I must say though, we are very corrective on the way up, which is not necessarily the healthiest of signs of this trend. You want price to kind of see momentum, you know, similar to this, to show that, okay, the buyers are back in control and the trend is looking healthy again. The fact that we are overly, for the most part, quite corrective. I know we've seen glimpses of momentum, but for the most part, this is a very corrective move to the upside. Does tell me that when we do push back to resistance, if we do, there's a good chance of us finding resistance pretty soon afterwards, whether at the level, maybe slightly higher up, and then we do see some type of pullback. I think we could probably be expecting that to happen, probably same with the dollar as well. But for now, everything is still bullish. We're breaking through structure to our left. We cleared highs there as well yesterday. So again, similar to the dollar, I like this area here as a brief range. Price can tap into that, then use that as support to push higher. So still keep an eye on 1.137, 136. I think that's still a very smart place for a buy, especially if you're looking at maybe like an hourly chart, looking for opportunities in that area. Let me just add a bit of background to that. There we go. So we can see price push into this area, use as support, or an area of demand, of course, same thing really. And then a continuation back into the high at 1.5692. So overall, very, very bullish on euro. Nice opportunity to keep a lookout. It does line up very well for the DXY as well. I do think further upside is likely the outcome of this week's price action. So still very, very bullish on euro. Pound USD, bullish as well. I did speak about some pullback opportunities for pound, which look like they are potentially in motion. I still do expect to see a push back to the high there at 1.358 for this week. Again, the overall plan for pound USD is basically as long as we stay above this level on the daily/weekly chart, I remain pretty bullish here for pound. As long as we stay above 1.34, which as of now, that is the case. I was looking for the double bottom this week for price to push back into the low and then a swing to the upside. Unfortunately, that was not the case. But I do like the look of the retest here. I think, especially if you like on a maybe 30-minute chart even. Let me drop to the 30. That could present some nice buys. Let's see how this candle does close. But this is a nice zone to pick up some longs. If we could see some momentum and some strength in this candle, I think that could be a nice entry. Or you could perhaps wait for the hourly. I like the wicks we're seeing to the downside there as well. A strong close then the hourly could again take us back to the upside as well. Basically just looking for the break and retest and the continuation of that momentum from the start of the week. So I do think pound's a nice place to pick up some longs. And again, a nice kind of trade there back to the high. How many pips is that? You're looking at about 70, 75 pips to the high. That's a decent trade. Get yourself a 20 pip stop loss. You can be looking at potentially a 1 to 3 there. To the high, which of course would be a really nice position. So pound USD buys look good. If we do break below this, then it might just be a deeper pullback, but things get a little bit messy at that point. I would want to see price respect this zone. I still like the looks of the double bottom down here. If price was to have that drive lower, I will still be interested in that big double bottom because it's coming back into that daily zone, but we're still quite far away from that. So I'm not going to pay that too much interest at the moment, but if we do break lower, I'll probably start to discuss that setup in a bit more detail. But for now, expecting a bit of a rally there for pound USD. Dollar CAD, of course, I'm looking at the opposite situation here. I'm looking for dollar weakness, so dollar CAD I do expect to keep falling. We did, in fairness, just about pluck the lows here, which again shows the market's creating new lows. The bearish trend is still alive and well. I did say for a setup for dollar CAD, I kind of would have to wait for price to come back into a zone like this. Brief support, nice push down, a lot of momentum from that area. That would be a nice zone to try and short from, but it just begs the question, will price actually get there or not? No idea. I think if it does get there, great. There could be some nice opportunity. If it doesn't, well, maybe it's just one of those positions which just got away. Because again, you don't want to be chasing the trade, you don't want to be chasing the market. You want the market to come to you. Find your areas which you want to operate in. Wait for the market to get there. Wait for your entry confirmations. And that would be an area which would look good at 1.38. Where the price just kind of rolls over from here. It's up to dollar CAD at the end of the day. But in terms of targets for dollar CAD, I do have this zone here just below price. Again, when we had that brief kind of consolidation, double bottom, and price ripped to the upside, I'm looking for us to come back and retest that same zone. So there's still a little bit more room to the downside for dollar CAD. I think there's a good chance we get there, 1.36 I'll call it. So for now, still expecting more downside for dollar CAD, but would want to see a slightly bigger retracement just to look for opportunities to get in for a short. Aussie dollar, still operating within the channel. Again, not really interested in the current price action. Not a big fan of how we're operating here. Very, very corrective stuff. Again, I've said like a million times now, I'm very bullish on this pair. I like the buying opportunities around 0.625. If we can drop lower, pick up some longs there, and try and catch a major higher low. Basically, the correction of this bullish leg. If I can see price come into a zone like that, perhaps take test the 50 as well. That would be nice, and then pick up some longs from there. That would be my favored swing opportunity. But will we see price make that move? I'm not too sure. I've been waiting for many weeks now, and I'll still continue to wait. As I've said, not looking to trade within this range, within that channel. That's where all the speculation lies. That's where a lot of indecision lies. And there's no kind of consistency to the market there. So I would avoid trading inside that range and wait for price to come back to a more appropriate area like this, where I know potentially buyers can be looking to step in, and that just should be a cleaner buy opportunity in general. We are pretty consistent with the low of the channel, so perhaps there might be some buyers on the low of the channel just to keep finding these higher lows. That could be a nice opportunity, but that's the best I can see really for Aussie dollar in this current price action. So very, very bullish. Whether we continue from the channel or we see that bigger pullback, I'm not too sure, but that will be the opportunity I'm waiting to try and get involved with Aussie dollar. New Zealand dollar did see some nice momentum. We did just about break out, but we did break back inside. So that was a little bit anticlimactic there from NZUSD. Nice breakout, but we did break back inside, which doesn't really mean too much because we could still very much go and break it again. It's not to say that, okay, I'm expecting price to absolutely sell off now. We've had a fake out to the upside. Now expecting price to roll over. That could be the case, but I'm still very much interested in the buys with NZUSD. So I need price to break out again, essentially, and give me a successful retest. Of course, rejections, bullish engulfing candles, wicks, that's what I'll be looking at on the zone. Then yeah, a breaking retest opportunity is something I'm still very much interested in. Of course, with this price action, just kind of prolongs everything. But the buy still stands for NZUSD, still very much bullish on this one. I do think price has a lot more room to the upside to fulfill. But just in terms of finding an entry to try and trade that, originally I was talking about some buys down here. Doesn't look like that's the case anymore. So I'm more going to be fixated on this level, 0.602. So waiting for a strong break, hopefully a pullback at some point this week, and then some buying opportunities from that. I mean, it looks like price is coming back to retest this area here, but because I'll be buying directly into resistance, doesn't make too much sense for me. I'd rather price kind of just clears that level, leaves it behind, and then we find some opportunities off the back of that. So that will be the plan next week for NZUSD. In terms of gold, I'm keeping a close eye on. Possibly a breaking retest opportunity could be forming. It's looking a little bit tight in these areas. I wanted the slightly bigger breakout, to be honest, because I don't want to drop lower than the hourly time frame for an entry. And at the moment, not really seeing one anyway. But for the most part, gold has broken through the channel and has broken through that high. So that's definitely made me officially bullish on gold. Looking for a push back to 3,500, which is basically the all-time high. This is the channel I've been looking at for the past couple of weeks now for gold. We did break out of the channel yesterday, and we cleared that high as well. So I did say yesterday, if we can break through the high, that will reveal to me, okay, gold is most likely bullish now. So breaking retest would be something I would look at. But the breakout wasn't as big as I wanted it to be. I'm not really seeing sufficient price action in hourly for the breaking retest. But I would also consider this area here as well. It doesn't have to be that high for us to continue. We could drop a little bit lower. Essentially, I just don't want to see price break back inside the channel. So I don't want to see price go and do something like this, because then that would just mean this is a big fake out, and probably at that point I would be bearish again. But for now, we could see a retest of this zone here. Nice consolidation. That's the momentum that started the week. Could see price very much pull back, retest that before continuing, because it looks like this level not really doing it for me at the moment. But the bias is still bullish. It's just that that level probably is not going to be the one that gives us the entry. Hopefully 33.20, 25 could be the level. But expectations now for gold, swing back into highs there at 3,500, and hopefully some new highs as well. But now that we've got the breakout of the channel, I'm expecting the buyers to kind of step in and take price further. Silver as well, impressive breakout to the upside. We saw gold kind of be bullish, silver joined the party. I did say with silver, I'm just not a big fan of how price is moving very, very sideways, but I do expect price to break higher, and I expect price to go and clear the highs here. And I think if we can clear the highs there at 34.8, there could be some nice buys above that. But at the moment, we're still kind of trading into resistance, so still being a bit watchful of that. But now that we do have support below us, I still think this is a nice place for a buy, especially because we did actually break some structure. We took out this high on the left, which is what I like to see as well. Shows that the buyers are really stepping into the market. And I do think if we were to return to retest this zone, there's a good chance we could find support there to rally again. Very, very nice breakout. A lot of momentum in that move. So I think there's a good chance that price will hold support and will likely try and continue off the back of that. And then who knows, maybe we do get the breakout of 34.8 as well. So as a whole, very bullish in gold. I think there's a lot more, silver, sorry. I think there's a lot more upside for silver to be had. I think there's a nice level for a breaking retest. I like the fact that we took up the high there as well. I do think we're likely to break through 34.8, 35 and see upside past that point too. So I think the buys is where it's at for both gold and silver. Now it's just about finding opportunities. But for silver, I would wait for at least 33.6. And gold, I would wait for 33.25. Yeah, 33.25. Because if I drop to the hourly chart, it does look like price is kind of breaking below that. So, yeah, I would wait for a deeper pullback. But, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with USD for now. What's up, Ahmed? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Dima, welcome. UJ, thoughts? Okay, we'll take a look. Raphael, yes. Pound CAD shorts, US 30 longs. We'll have a look. See. Pirzada. What's up? I booked loss on gold. Now again entered. Is it the right time to enter gold? I don't know what you're doing with gold. Are you shorting? Are you buying? I'm not too sure. I need a bit more information than that. But as I said with gold, I'm looking for pullbacks into this area for a buy. I was looking for the break and retest of the high there, but the breakout's not big enough. The retest is not looking great. So I believe this zone, more of like an hourly chart, will be a nice place for a buy. We could end up holding this as support and turning around. I don't think it's the worst place for a buy. We have broken it. We're still respecting it as support. So it still makes sense as long as you give yourself a bit of room with a stop loss. I think that makes sense. And if it does fail, you can always have a second opportunity at the retest of this zone. Because the idea is that if gold is going to break to the upside and continue, there should be a lot more upside to be taken advantage of. So the reward should be worth the risk. You should be making 2, 3, even more X times your risk here, especially if you're using an intraday time frame to enter. Because if gold is breaking out, probably expect it to at least get back to that high. Of course, other things can happen. Nothing's guaranteed. But the point I'm trying to drill home is that if you can use like a lower time frame to get involved, you could be looking at a pretty decent trade in terms of the risk to reward. But yeah, not a bad zone for along here. Like I said, as long as you give yourself a bit of room for the stop loss, preferably underneath that wick there. So give yourself a few pips underneath the low there. If that doesn't work out, then this is the zone I'm looking at. Nice kind of range here around 33.25. I think that could be a nice place for a buy as well. What's up, Jonathan? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. What's up, DT? Welcome. Hope you're good. Okay, so Yusuf, you asked the question. How would I mark the high and low on UJ in the 15? Because I'm seeing regular structure. I'm not too sure. Okay, we'll go take a look at UJ. Ahmed wants to take a look at UJ as well. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Second question, I was watching yesterday's stream. You mentioned leaving position to run on gold. Last week I entered position on gold at 32.58. Please, how would you manage it? Okay, I'll take a look at that as well. And third question, do you think it's okay for me to change the session? I trade from London to New York, all about testing for testing data, all from London. I probably would, yes, it should be okay. Price action not being mega different. I would though go for a testing phase again though. You probably would find that your results are probably very similar. but there are some nuances that will be different in New York than London, especially if all your testing is during London hours. There will be some difference in New York, just like there will be some difference in the Asian session as well. So there would be probably some nuances that will change a little bit. Of course, the price action is still the same. Candlesticks are still the same as well inherently, but market probably will go through some different cycles as well. So you probably notice some other things which you probably can take advantage of in New York, that which doesn't happen as much as London. So I would recommend go through a testing phase. Again, you don't necessarily have to go super crazy because the edge is still going to be there. But you probably would want to go for a testing phase, or at least something where you can trade on a demo account and forward test it. Might not necessarily have to go and back test it, but I would recommend that as well. Just because, especially if you're intraday and you just focus on one session, like you said, all London, I would go and do some research into New York because there will be some differences. In terms of the first question, we'll go for UJ, then I'll take a look at gold afterwards. So with dollar yen, so with this one on the 15, you said how would I map out the market structure? I'm seeing a break of structure, I'm not too sure. Yeah, so with the 15-minute chart, okay, I think I understand what you mean by the break of structure, which would be the break of this high. So yeah, I would classify that as a break of structure as well. I mean, the significant high for dollar yen on the 15 would be this high here. So that would be like the major significant high. So technically speaking, yes, this is a break of structure because, of course, this was a swing high, which gave us that swing low. But it could just be a bigger, more complex pullback. We could see price go like this, for example, then eventually continue. So this high would still be lower than this high. So we're still getting the continuation from that regard. But, of course, you do have that initial break of structure there, which should imply more upside for the time being, but might not necessarily mean a complete reversal. I would want to see this high being taken out for me to suggest, okay, dollar yen probably is going to see a lot more upside now. So yeah, I would identify that as a break of structure as well. Again, a break of structure is always just price breaking the most recent high or the most recent low. How far it goes, whether it's a complete reversal or price is just doing it for one swing and then continues back in the overall trend again, that's something which is a bit more difficult to predict. But yeah, I would agree that's a break of structure. We had those low lows and low highs coming in. Prices breaking that in pretty nice fashion as well. I like the momentum there, very impulsive. And this push to the downside is pretty corrective as well. So I do think there's a good chance that we do find support and we do turn around. But like I said, the overall momentum is still down. This is still the last major high. We could very much just pull back just to continue. So I'm not expecting this to go forever unless we go and take out that high. But yeah, I would agree that with the break of structure there. I would say you've read that pretty well. That's how I would interpret it as well. And in terms of gold, you said you got a position from 32.58.199, 32.58. Okay, that's right down there-ish. 32.58, yeah, roughly the same place. So yeah, really nice trade. Price is looking very, very well. How would I manage it? Was that the question? Leaving position to run on gold last week. How would you manage it? Okay. Yeah, so how would I manage the position? Well, I would try to be a bit flexible because I know the conditions of gold are extremely bullish. It's not like you're trading a normal FX pair here in usual conditions. I would manage that a lot different to how I would manage this gold position because I understand the climate of gold being very, very bullish. There is that chance that this position just continues to rip to the upside and we see a push back to the highs there and maybe even further as well. So at the very least, I probably would leave a good chunk to run, but I would probably take a decent amount of profit at the high here because at the end of the day, you've probably taken an intraday position which just has performed very, very well. So I probably would secure maybe about half at the high here. Yeah, I mean, I probably would have secured a ready profit around this area. So I would have, whatever I've secured here, I would have secured the rest here so I can close half. But then because of the conditions, I would be pretty aggressive and leave the other half just to run and just trail stops. Yeah, I would be pretty aggressive and leave the other half to run, just because the position could be a very, very big one, and leaving a decent chunk, could be very rewarding. And because you're already taking partials off, worst case scenario, you still walk away with a profit. So because you've entered down here, probably would trail stops probably around here, to be honest, which is quite far down, but it does give me the most room to kind of allow price to run. And of course, if you can break highs again, well, I can move stops as well. So I would give myself quite a bit of room. I'll trail stops with about half or a third of the position. It doesn't have to be half. It could be 30%. Yeah, it could be whatever you like, to be honest. But because of the climate we're in, I think there's a good chance gold does rip to the upside. Silver's looking pretty bullish too. If USD does continue to fall, that should mean some more upside for gold and silver too. So I think overall, it's a nice situation here. Leave some position on the table. Of course, trail stops as well. Don't just let it run aimlessly. Have that safety on. But yeah, I'll see what price can do and see if we can get it back to that high and hopefully further as well. Let me take a look at dollar yen for Ahmed. So Ahmed, you said thoughts on UJ. So in terms of the full hour chart, I mean, UJ, I'm still pretty bearish. I'm still looking for dollar yen to get back to the low here at 140. That's still my expectation for dollar yen. But of course, we're approaching support right now, and we could very much bounce here. So there might be some short-term buys to take advantage of. I wouldn't say there's any significant price action right now in the 4 hour chart, so I wouldn't be looking to buy myself, but we are in a bullish area. We are losing a little bit of steam. I wouldn't be surprised if we do push up, maybe go put another lower high in like we did over here. We've got a major higher there. Second, could see a third before we do roll over. That is a possibility. There might be some short-term buys to take advantage of before that sell does kick in. Or, of course, we could just break to the downside straight away. If you're looking to short dollar yen, I would probably wait to see if we can snap through this support level here first, then try and look for any break and retest opportunities on the lower time frame. And that could be a nice trade to ride it back into the low. Because dollar yen, I'm basically just anticipating that this bearish trend is still alive and well, and it's likely going to take us back to the lows there. So if that support does break, there's a very strong chance we just at 140. So yeah, dollar yen very bearish. I do think more downside is likely. Yes, we're at support right now, pretty strong support as well. I want to add, we've had some really strong rejections from this area, so it's definitely not a level to mess about too much and could still present some nice buying opportunities. I'll just watch to see how price develops here. If we can see some wicks, a strong shift in momentum, that could be a nice sign for a buy. But yeah, I would be looking for a lower high to form and for us to come back down again. Not too sure where I would be looking to short though. This was kind of the optimal place for it, back into that high. It made sense, back into a nice resistance level there. So it made sense shorting there. Now, if we do see a pullback, where's the next best place to short? I probably wouldn't say there is one, to be honest. So I think in terms of shorting, the best trade would just be the break and retest of this level, because you've got a clear-cut level to base a trade from. The other level, I would say, would be up there. But yeah, for dollar yen, I do expect us to drift back to lows. I'll go through pound CAD and US 30 for Raphael. Jonathan, did I say good morning? I'm not too sure. Good morning if I didn't. DT, what's up? Hope you're well. How's trades going today? Don't have any positions open at the moment. I'm looking at Euro Aussie. That one looks pretty good for some shorts. I'll go through that one in a moment. But I sit in cash at the moment. Suraj, welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. What's about gold and silver? I'm already buy trading silver yesterday and today, facing a little pullback. Yeah, I would agree. It's just a pullback. Of course, anything can happen, but I would expect silver to still see higher prices and go and break through resistance. So the bearish move in silver, I do think it's just likely a pullback. Let me go through pound CAD and US30 before I completely forget. So pound CAD, you said you got a short trade on, Raphael, from current price. So I'm guessing around about here-ish. You said what TP and stop loss should you have? Well, it depends on your. Again, you want to already decide this before you hop into the trade, because in theory there's no kind of right or wrong place for a stop loss or a take profit. But your position sizing will depend on where your stop loss and your take profit is. Because if you have a stop loss above the high here, well, your position size is going to be very different if your stop loss was here, because you're looking at probably losing about 3 or 4 times more by having a bigger stop loss. So because of that, you reduce the size of your position sizing for the trade, your lot size, so you can still lose your whatever percent you want to lose of the account and still keep it consistent. So again, you don't want to be placing positions and then working out your stop loss afterwards, because the stop loss should help dictate your position size for the trade. And again, it depends what you're looking for as well. If you're looking for more of a scalp or a very short-term swing, then a stop loss above the high here would make sense, because you're looking for price to retest structure and see momentum in your favor. If you're trying to capitalize on a bigger swing and you're prepared to withstand some drawdown, then you could have your stop loss above the high here. That will of course give you a lot more room to play with. That means price can potentially pull back deeper against you, and you're basically saying, as long as price respects this range, I expect it to turn around. If price does break to the upside, then of course you're in the wrong direction anyway. So having stop loss here will give you that extra room, give you a bit more security for the trade. And if you capitalize on a bigger swing, you're of course going to give yourself a bigger stop loss to try and take advantage of that. If you're looking for a swing back to support there, you probably wouldn't want to have a very small stop loss above the high. Of course, that would maximize your risk reward, but the odds of you getting stopped out, I would say, pretty high there. So yeah, it depends on what you're looking for. And targets, again, depends what you're looking for too. A target at the low there makes a load of sense as well. A target at the low here makes sense, but I probably would advise at least partialing out or going break even or moving a stop loss once price does take out this low, just to stop price doing that against you, because the trend is still very much up for pound CAD. I know it's a very choppy trend and a very fatigued one, but it's still up in general. So shorts I would still deem as a counter trend trade. Therefore, I would be a bit more conservative, and if price breaks a low or gets to a low, I would recommend partialing out or trading a stop loss. So again, I can't provide too much help because I don't really know what you're looking for, and what type of trade you're looking at. Is it a swing trade? Is it a trade for the day? I'm not too sure. So that should already be sorted out before you even take the position. I can always give you my opinion once you've taken the position, or if you're looking to take a position. But if you have an entry, then you should already know where your stop loss and your take profit is for the trade idea you're trying to take advantage of. US30 as well, you said you but I do like the trade though for pound CAD. I do like the trade. Coming back to test the zone, I think it's a smart trade, and I like it as well, especially from the weekly perspective, because we're having a lot of trouble trying to break resistance here. So I do think this week as well could push lower. So I do like the shorts, but in terms of stop loss, take profit, again, depends what you're after. US30, you said, of course, you are long from current price or short? Longs from current price. So US30, I mean, it's kind of consolidating right now, so I wouldn't really be looking to do anything with US30. I mean, I did talk about some sells here yesterday. I don't think we quite made it into that zone, to be honest. We did have a nice rally to the upside yesterday, but not quite into that zone. I still think shorts look good. They're basically taking advantage of the range at the high. So I think shorts are still good there. In terms of the longs, though, I'm not quite sure about the longs. I mean, overall, I'm very bullish on US30, but we're quite flat right now. I don't like the fact that we formed a lower high here. If price can break structure to the upside again, then sure, the next pullback after that I wouldn't mind, anticipating some buys there because at least structure's in my favor again. At the moment, we are still forming higher lows, but we're also forming lower highs. So essentially, we've got a market that's kind of squeezing right now, and that will eventually go for a breakout, which I would anticipate to the upside, but it could be to the downside. You're not to know which way price is to go until the breakout has happened. So I'm not the biggest fan about the buys right now, I must say. If we could see something like this happen, then the buys following that I think make a load of sense, and that would be a nice opportunity, especially from a swing position as well. But at the moment, US30 is kind of ranging, so I'm not the biggest fan about price action. If you're looking to trade it, I think just buy low, sell high makes the most sense. Trying to get involved here. Maybe if you're on a very small intraday time frame, there might be a nice trade there. But from an hourly perspective, I would wait for price to push to resistance or support first. It'll give you a much better stop loss as well for the trade. Okay, where was I? Jonathan, I see gold pulling down further to the second support you drew, given that there is more upside to the XY and Jolt. Yeah, that's true. We got some news today as well at 3 o'clock. Better risk to reward as well, of course. Yeah, if it does come back down, it probably does favor us because it's a better price, hopefully a better entry, and hopefully a better risk to reward as well. So it could be beneficial for that. But yeah, I still like the gold to the upside. As long as we stay above that channel, it does keep me bullish. It does keep me bullish for gold. As long as we stay above this channel and respecting this zone here, I stay bullish. Break back inside the channel, I back away from gold. But yeah, my expectation is still swing back to 3,500. I like the breakout we've seen this week. I was actually looking for the break me test at this level, but just the breakout and the pullback is just a bit too shallow for me, especially because I don't want to drop lower than the hourly chart. Normally I trade in the 4 hour, but I'm willing to drop to the hourly chart for this opportunity here on gold. But this I probably would have to drop like to the 15 or even 5 minute to get a decent trade there. So I'm looking for a slightly deeper pullback there for gold. Potentially the news can knock us down as well. That would be nice. But yeah, this is essentially the area which I want to see some rejection from. Hopefully base a nice trade from that particular zone. Then yeah, we'll see how far we can take gold, because it's an opportunity which could run, which is why I like gold a lot, because of these conditions. Who knows, maybe we catch a move to 4K, that is a possibility. It is a possibility there, so we will see. DMR UJ buys at 141.9. I do think we are coming into some nice support. So that would be the support about there. I mean, generally this area of support, I mean, it's an area, it's not really a finite line, but in general, I'm probably looking at that 142 for a bounce. So yeah, I do agree. It's a nice place for a support. Nice place for potentially price to bounce. I wouldn't say price action looks great right now in terms of supporting the buy idea. I would want to see a bit more development in terms of rejection, momentum from bullish candles to justify a buy there. But in terms of the location, I do definitely agree. Of course, we've seen on a few occasions now, even over there as well, big rallies from this zone. So this is clearly an area which buyers are paying a lot of attention to, and we could very much bounce. I do expect it to break though. Even if we do go for a bounce, I do think price is likely to break through, because I do think the bigger move is still likely a push into support there. So I do agree it's a nice support level, but I don't expect anything too crazy from dollar yen. Of course, I could be wrong, but I do think this trend is very much likely to continue and take us back into lows. So there might be a bounce there, but I do expect it to be a bit more short term, and eventually the sellers to take control again and take us back to 140. How do I look at Swiss yen? I'm bullish on it, but exited after some profit as price came deeper. Okay, we'll go through Swiss yen for you. DT, Quick question: do you think NFP on Friday will cause the euro to buy upward against the USD? I'm not really so much focused on the euro when it comes to NFP. I'm more focused on what the USD is doing, but of course, they do tend to do the opposite of one another in general. But yeah, my focus is not really on euro, to be honest. I know euro will be affected. A lot of currencies will be affected, but my main focus is going to be what the USD is going to do. If USD is going to be strong, euro is going to push down. If USD is going to be weak, euro is going to push up. So that's basically where my focus will lie. In terms of my bias going in for the dollar, I'm not too sure just yet. Again, I'm still leaning towards more of a bearish USD. But yeah, then again, I might even change that bias around. But I'm still pretty bearish as a whole on dollar. I still think more downside is likely. Even if USD does see some strength on Friday, I would still be getting prepared to short that back down again, to be honest. So yeah, I'm more focused on the USD side of things, but in general, they tend to do the opposite of each other anyway. Jonathan, could you also go to a higher time frame to see the structure there? Is that for gold? Okay. I mean, again, in general for gold, especially the higher time frames, there's no indication of a reversal just yet. I really like the daily close, I must say, on Monday. Very, very nice daily close, breaking to the upside there. But yeah, I mean, gold's still bullish. I probably would watch out for the resistance here as well. I know in general I do expect price to break out and see new highs, but you've got first rejection there, second rejection there, 34, 34. Looks like an interesting level. I think that might cause a bit of friction there, so I'll watch out for that. But for the most part, I do think we'll just likely pull back and continue. So very, very bullish in gold. High time frames look good. Weekly chart showing signs of slowing down a little bit with the wicks there. But for the most part, support still holding. I'm not seeing any major signs of reversal there as well. Momentum is very much still up on the weekly chart here. Very parabolic like. So yeah, still very bullish on gold. High time frames support that idea as well. So yeah, I think buys are still the best bet for now. Dark Sean, what is up, my man? Hope you are doing good. Yesterday, NAS and US30 copy pasted London session. Too bad I wasn't able to trade. Today, repeat. Okay, we'll have a look. See. 5 minute chart. Yeah, okay, we'll take a look at the 5 minute as well. 1 hour looks a bit better for UJ to find a short. What do you think? Yeah, I like. I mean, not so much because we're just coming into support. I don't really know where to short dollar yen from. There's no kind of clear-cut level other than the break and retest of the 142 area. Good morning, MJ. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're well. Okay, let's take a look at US 100 and US 30 on the 5 minute. Okay, so yesterday, where were we? Oh, beautiful move to the upside. I believe we're here, weren't we? Yeah, I remember I was talking about the line here. Very nice move to the upside. Excuse me. For NAS. So what do we expect now? We've actually pushed into resistance, haven't we? So yeah, I was talking about some shorts here, wasn't I, yesterday, from this level here. I said if we come into this level, reject it well. I do think we can have a bit of a sell-off, actually. I still stand by that. We've seen some rejection. I mean, probably nothing crazy. We are seeing some rejection there as support is forming, but I wouldn't be looking to try and buy into this just because I do think we can probably roll over. If price does clear the level, then yeah, I think the buys look really good, just back to the highs basically, and the trend continues. But I want to see price break above this zone first, and that would make me bullish. Bullish on the NAS. In terms of the 5 minute chart, we are seeing similar characteristics to what we saw yesterday in terms of this pullback. Kind of seeing the similar characteristics. I think buys are looking good as well in the 5 actually. In terms of finding some entries, maybe another stab to the downside. And that could present some nice buys to take advantage of again. But yeah, I would be weary around this zone because we could roll back over. If you do clear it, then I'll forget about that bearish bias and just focus on the buys above that level, of course. A nice break and retest, and then hopefully we do continue. But this is still a very solid level of resistance. Price rejected this level very well not too long ago. We had a massive fake out of this level here as well. Massive breakout, massive recovery. Now we're back holding that level of resistance again. So I would be careful from a short bias, but of course with a 5-minute on a 5-minute time frame, you can still take advantage of buys here because you've got the room to play with. In terms of finding some entries, I probably wouldn't want to enter now. Maybe the entries already happened, but if we can sell off again back into lows, I think that could be a nice little buy there to take advantage of for NAS. And for US 30, okay, US 30, I like the buys here as well, coming back into a nice kind of area of demand there where we consolidated and ripped to the upside. I think the buys on US 30 look a little bit better for my liking anyway. We've got a lot of aggressive wicks and stabs to the downside here, so price is really finding support down at the lows there. So in terms of US 30, I think buys look good. In terms of entries, probably would again want to see another drive lower back into support so you can basically trade at the lows there. You're basically trading off the back of this area of demand, but I would want to see price push into support. Now, we might not do that. We might just rally without that push down. If that's the case, you kind of really want to be in the trade anyway. But if price can push down back into lows, I think that would be a smart place to basically trade from and hopefully capitalize on a swing there. So, yeah, I would agree. I mean, of course, New York hasn't opened yet. We could see price kind of slam down into support. We do tend to do that quite a lot of the time. I think we were talking about some buys here. Then New York opened up. Price had a very aggressive push to the downside. Actually, no, that was news, wasn't it? Very aggressive push down, and then we had that rally. Could see that happen again. But yeah, I still think it's a smart place for a buy, and naturally a push back to highs makes sense. So I do agree with the bullish outlook there on the NAS on US 30, but I think US 30 looks a little bit cleaner. NAS, we are coming to some major resistance, so I would watch out for that. But yeah, at the moment, I do fancy the buys there. Okay, so I'll go through that UJ short idea, Jonathan. What's up, Trev? Can you take a look at silver? No problemo. We'll take a look at silver. James, NASDAQ. Just had a look at the NAS there. Good morning. Hope you're doing good. As I just said, quick recap. We are coming to some major resistance. So if you're looking to buy the NAS, I think buys above this level look very smart, to be honest, above 21,475. If we can clear that level, a break and retest, I think is a smart trade. And targets back at the high here look very, very good, and beyond that as well. Because looking at the bigger picture, I do think NAS is very likely just to push back to the swing high here at 22,234, the all-time high basically. So I do think we are likely to see more upside, but we've got resistance here, which price is doing a pretty good job at respecting. So until we break through that, we could very much see the NAS sell off again a little bit. So I would be careful of that. But if we were to clear resistance, then the buyers get the green light again. Expectation would be a swing back to the high, and yeah, onwards and upwards from then onwards. So yeah, US 100, I'll keep an eye on that level there. If you are a buyer, that is. If you're a seller, I think it's a nice place for a short, although I would wait for some stronger rejection because we had a lot of momentum into that zone. And now we're kind of just seeing smallish, half-hearted bearish candles, not really applying much rejection there. So I would wait for a bit more development to show more signs of rejection before shorting. But if you are bullish, I'll wait for that level to break, and the buys afterwards do make a load of sense to me. In terms of the dollar yen sell, so that's kind of where I find a little bit of trouble because I'm pretty bearish with dollar yen, but the only sell opportunity that makes sense to me would be a break of, there we go, would be a break of 142.5 or 142, that kind of area there. If price can clear that support level, then the retest shorts after would make sense because, yeah, I'm not seeing any good shorts in this area. This is price pushing back into support. We've seen some very strong rejection from this area. I'm not trying to sell into that. I want price to get rid of that level first so I can use it to my advantage as a seller. If anything, buys make the most sense here for a push up. Again, I like this level, but we're nowhere near that level. So again, you could probably argue this kind of range here could provide a nice short. Potentially on a 15-minute chart, maybe. Hourly, I think, is a little bit too big of a time frame for that, especially the fact that you're coming from support. I don't think it's an optimal place for a short. So the best place I see as of now would just be a break and retest of that low. And if it does happen, I think there's a very high chance we just get back to lows anyway. So in terms of the probability of the position playing out, I think it's actually a good trade there. Maybe not the biggest risk to reward or the biggest gap to trade, but if you can drop to the hourly, you can still make worthwhile of that move there. So that's the best I can see for UJ sells at the moment. We'll take a look at silver. Next, Tashi, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Hope you're well. That was in regard to the question you was... Oh, okay, my bad. It was answering about the 50-minute breaker structure, okay. Manzondi, what is up? Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing good, my man. So we'll go through silver. I'll go through my watch list in a second as well. But yeah, silver, bit of a rejection at 34.567-ish in that area. We've seen some rejection, but again, the overall direction for silver for me is still very, very bullish. So despite the bearish reaction we've seen this morning, I think silver is still likely to continue there. So I did mark on this level on the 4-hour chart. I think that's a great place to be looking for some entries. Solid resistance, a very clean and impulsive breakout, I must add. Very smooth breakout to the upside, no prior retest. So if price was to get back down to retest this zone, I think it's a great place to be looking for some entries, especially 4-hour chart or even hourly chart. And even just to swing back to the highs, you could be looking at a decent 1 to 2, 1 to 3 back into that level. But more importantly, I do think it's a position where you can probably sit in, leave some positions to run, maybe secure most of your profit at the highs, but do leave a good chunk to run and trail stops, because again, silver is a market that has actually been ranging for quite some time. So I do expect to see a pretty decent breakout. We could be looking at the width of this range here, and we could be looking at that in terms of how big the breakout could be. It takes us to 41 potentially. I mean, you got the all-time highs for silver all the way up at 50, which eventually I do expect price to get to. But we could see a push into 40. That's the next big psychological level. And if I do see a strong enough break of the high, I do think 40 is very likely. I mean, the width of that will take us to around 41, but I probably would just focus on 40. It's a big psychological level. I think a lot of eyes will be focusing on that. So yeah, a strong break of resistance. I think there's a lot of upside to be taken advantage of, which is why the break and retest is a good trade, because if it does play out, yes, probably take a good chunk off at resistance, rightly so. But I would try and leave some positions to run, because you just don't know. Maybe you take advantage of a massive breakout and it just keeps going. Similar to what we had with gold at the start of the year. Start of last year, actually. So yeah, at the moment, buys look really good. Okay, so I'll go through my watch list. And what's up, Honey Dabash? Welcome to the channel. Hope you're well. Is that a standard MT5 feature that allows you to choose percentage risk? I know you can comment on both streams. I can still see both the comments. Yeah, I don't use a feature that just allows me to select my risk percentage. There probably is one. If you do some research, you probably will find some type of add-on you can find that will just calculate your risk for you. I bet there is. There probably will be. But yeah, I just calculate it manually. I mean, there's risk calculators on Google. There's one on Baby Pips, which I like using as well. You just type in the pair you're trading, the stop loss size, how much you want to risk, your account size, and it will give you your position size for the stop loss you want to use as well. So in terms of calculating my percentage risk, that's something I just do kind of manually. But I'm sure you can find some plugins to do it for you if you want to. But anyway, so in terms of my watch list, I think Euro Aussie at the moment is looking at the top. I'm looking to sell this one. I kind of like how price is moving, very slow, very staggered, very corrective. And typically when price is moving like this, it's a very strong sign that we're very fatigued and we're probably going to go for a bit of a sell-off. And that's the move I'm trying to take advantage of. So I'm getting ready for a short, biding my time. It's a very similar trade to Aussie Swiss, and they're both Aussie pairs, so there will of course be some similarities between them. But I mean, there's a lot of similarities between them actually. Just thinking about it now, in terms of the price action. But Aussie CHF, another one which is correctively pushing down. Looking at how price is moving, it almost looks identical to Euro Aussie, actually thinking about it now. But they're both pairs which are on my watch list. I'm looking for a buy here for Aussie CHF. I'm looking for a sell for Euro Aussie. Now, I probably won't take them both because, again, they're pretty much the same trade, really. So, yeah, I won't take them both, but I'm looking at them both just to see which one might present the better opportunity in terms of the risk reward. They're both very, very similar. I think, yeah, I'm not even too sure which one edges it. Normally there's a pair which normally edges it, but thinking about them now, they're actually very similar. I think maybe because Aussie CHF is coming from all-time lows, that might make me choose Aussie CHF, but it really depends on the price action. But then again, Euro Aussie is coming from a very nice height. We've had a massive rally as well, so I do think price is likely to drop too. Anyway, they're both on the watch list, and I'm both looking for a sell. Very corrective behavior. It looks like we're coming into resistance here, which is the level which I said looks good for a short from. We're looking very fatigued now. I want to see some really strong rejection, which implies that, okay, we're about to turn around. Not seeing that yet, but definitely something keeping an eye on. New Zealand CAD, I'm not too sure about this one. I still like the longs. I still think price is likely to see more upside, but I feel like price might not be doing what I wanted to do in terms of getting to my level to find some entries. I'm still very much bullish on New Zealand CAD. I do think price is still likely to see more upside. I'm still looking at this as a big pullback for price to go and take up the highs and continue a lot further. So my expectation is very, very bullish for New Zealand CAD. I'm looking at this as a big V-shaped pattern, and I love trading V-shaped patterns. Very, very good in terms of the overall success rate of these patterns. Sometimes I don't always get the entries for them, but when they do present themselves, I'm always looking to try and trade them. So very strong V-shaped pattern there, and now I'm looking for the continuation of that. So in terms of finding a trade, because the market pretty much is just ranging, I want to try and wait for price to push into the lows and try and position myself long off the back of that. Preferably even spiking through the lows would be a nice added touch or added confidence to the trade, because at that point I know any previous stop losses in this area, they would have been liquidated, fresh orders were being caught, and prices like to turn around at that point. So if I could see a push into this area and then followed by a strong rejection, that's key, then yeah, I'll be more than happy to get into some longs, stop losses below the low, and looking to trade it back into the highs and back into this high here actually. So New Zealand CAD still very much a pair on the watch list. Just I'm not too sure if I will get an entry now. We had a bit of a rally yesterday. I know we've come back down, so I mean we're still in the range, but we'll see if price can actually get to support there. I'm still waiting to see if Euro Yen and Pound Yen can develop. I'm looking for some sells on these ones, but nothing there yet. In terms of euro yen, I kind of want to see a strong move down first before I actually start looking for some entries, because I want some bearish structure in my favor first. Maybe I might look for a short if we have another stab to the high. Maybe a big double top. That could entice me. It's a bit more of an aggressive trade, but judging how everything is moving, I wouldn't actually mind that position. And the benefit of that as well is that it does allow me to maximize my risk reward too, and puts me in a very nice position in terms of entries. But this would definitely be the safer trade and the more higher probability trade as well, because at that point I've got some structure to follow, high, lower high, and looking for the next one, of course. But at the moment, nothing just yet. So I'll keep an eye on both opportunities. But I'm leaning towards the bearish side of things with euro yen. Pound yen, similar situation as well. In this case, I want to see a break of structure, because we still do have this structure to the upside, which looks like price is fatiguing. I mentioned yesterday on the weekly chart, seeing a lot of wicks in this area, so the market is tiring. It's trying to continue, but failing very miserably, and it looks like we're probably going to roll over at this point. So if we can get that break of structure, that puts an end to the bullish structure there, and after that, I'll expect some lower highs to appear and some sell-offs, and that would be the trade I try to take advantage of. So pound yen still got some work to do before I do find any entries, but I do like the looks of it, and definitely get ready for some shorts there. In terms of the USD pairs, I like dollar CAD sells in that zone. Will we see a pullback to actually get there? I'm not too sure, but if we do, I will be looking for opportunities that I'm sure of. And that's the zone I'm expecting dollar CAD to end up at. Massive consolidation, if you will. Really nice break to the upside. I'm simply looking for price to come back and revisit that zone. And as you can see, we're still putting in lower highs in. So the plan is, can I find the next one and take advantage of another sell there? Ends the USD, I'm still looking for the buys there too. Again, simply a break and retest of the high there, which we technically did see, but just not a significant retest. And actually this happened whilst I was sleeping anyway, so even if it did give me a nice rejection, I wouldn't be there to take the trade. But now hopefully we can see another breakout, probably a bigger one as well. Then hopefully we can find some retests for some longs and a continuation off the back of that. Romeo, what is up? Is it Romeo or Romeo? Not too sure. Good morning, hope you're doing well. I took a buy in Aussie CHF after the wick rejection. Okay. I mean, I'm pretty bullish on Aussie CHF as well. I'm looking to buy it too, but it hasn't done enough to justify a trade for me yet. I do like the wick, I must admit. It is developing pretty nice. What's up, Hassan? Appreciate it, my man. Euro Aussie setup is ready, I guess. Can you look into it? Euro Aussie also a pair which I'm looking to trade as well. Both of them very identical in this situation. But yeah, Euro Aussie, I like the wick there. I must admit, nice wicks. Not anything special in terms of a big exaggerated wick. It's a nice wick, but if it was a bit bigger, maybe that would have excited me a little bit more. I do like where price is trading, and I do expect to see this happen for Aussie CHF in the next coming days, a swing back to highs. I'm actually still expecting a swing all the way back to this area. This is a really big range we had, which we collapsed to the downside from. I do think price is still likely to come back and retest that zone. So I think the buys are still looking very, very good for Aussie CHF. But I need momentum. That's really what I used in terms of my entry signals, which there's no right or wrong in terms of your entry, just mainly in terms of your consistency. Excuse me, voice just went croaky there. It's more in terms of your consistency, because sometimes when I do wait for bigger candles, it does mean that my entry is, a little bit later. So my risk reward is not as good, or my stop losses a bit big, but it does give me a bit more security with the trade actually pushing in my favor because there's momentum there. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of getting me into a position. Wicks are great. I love seeing wicks, especially when it's accompanied with momentum as well. Like I said, nice wick rejection. I think in terms of the entry, you're keeping your entry quite minimal with probably a minimal stop loss, something like that, which does open up the door sort of some really nice risk to reward. But I'm waiting for that momentum before I do take the trade. But I'm looking probably for a similar move as you. I think we're in a really healthy area. I like how corrective we are. Typically when price is moving like this, it means we'll get ready to do something like that pretty soon after. So the buys look very good for Aussie CHF. Great location, nice wick to the downside. Personally, I'm just waiting for momentum to step in, and that will be my entry. If I can get a strong candle close like that, that probably would be enough to get me into a trade. And then targets back at the high, and hopefully back at there as well. So that would be enough to get me into the trade. But of course, that's not quite there yet, so I stay on the sidelines. In terms of Euro Aussie, same situation, but in the opposite direction, really. Oh, that's not Euro Aussie, that's USD. So again, Euro Aussie, same sort of situation in terms of a nice wick to the upside. Of course, they're very similar pairs. In fact, this corrective move for Euro Aussies pretty much mimicked what Aussie CHF has done. They've pretty much done the exact same thing. But yeah, I like Euro Aussies coming back into a very nice level. I've talked about this level here in the past as a strong level of resistance, which could give us a nice short. Again, Euro Aussie, I like how we've moved. The market's a little bit stretched now. I do think we are getting ready for a bit of a shift down. Again, the key thing for me is momentum. Can I see a strong close here for Euro Aussie? That could be enough to entice me into a trade. If I'm seeing kind of sluggish candlesticks, not really seeing momentum, then I stay back and wait for price to unfold. But we are coming into some areas which I do think there's a good chance of us selling off. Now I'm just waiting for a good entry to back it up. And targets back at the low. I do think we can go a bit further. There is a massive level to our left, only just below, and the high there as well. So there's a bit more juice to squeeze there, but even if it's just a swing back into support, you're still looking at a very nice trade indeed. So yeah, Euro Aussie, nice place. Aussie CHF, nice place as well. I'm not too sure which one I prefer. I think they both look just as good as one another, and they're both very much linked with one another as well. So it's not going to be a situation where I take them both. I'll just try and pick the better one. But yeah, I like them both. Nice areas, nice wicks. In terms of my personal trading, I just want to see momentum before I enter. But yeah, the wick does look good as well. MJ Aussie CAD. Okay, we'll have a look. See. If we enter Euro Aussie now, where should we place a stop loss? Stop loss just below, just above the high. Sorry. I mean, there's two places you can have it depending how you want to view the market. Normally, I always put my stop loss just above my entry candle. So let's say if I enter the trade here, well, my stop loss would just be a few pips above the high. You could put it above the level that you're shorting from. If this is the zone you're shorting from, you could put it above the level. That gives you a bit more room to play with. But of course, it would skew your risk to reward a little bit. So it means that your return on the trade won't be as big as it could be if your stop loss is there, of course. So again, there's no right or wrong. Stop loss here gives you more room to play with, less risk to reward. Stop loss here, less room to play with, but more risk to reward. So it's the battle of the pros and cons. But in terms of my style of trading, I always put it just a few pips above my entry candle. Because I like to have my risk refined. I wouldn't mind getting stopped out and then entering again. And of course, when it does play out, it means that I do maximize my risk to reward as much as I can. So yeah, I always just put it a few pips above my entry candle, of course, below my entry candle. In terms of Aussie CAD, so Aussie CAD, I'm pretty bullish on as well. I do think there's a rally to be had to the upside. I'm very bullish on New Zealand CAD. I think that pair looks a lot better, so I'm kind of a lot more focused with New Zealand CAD at the moment and waiting for opportunities there rather than looking so much at Aussie CAD. But I do feel like Aussie CAD is getting ready for a bit of a push up. We've come back into a major low here to our left at 0.88500. I do think there's a good chance we could probably rally from here and see a push back into resistance and maybe even a push back into the high here. Because again, for Aussie CAD, we had a massive sell-off earlier this year, and I'm looking at this bullish move as a big recovery of that. So it's kind of like an impulse down, impulse back up. Wasn't as aggressive as New Zealand CAD, which is why New Zealand CAD looks a little bit better and a bit more of a smooth opportunity, whereas Aussie CAD was a bit more corrective on the way up, which does lower the probability or the quality of the setup, but they're very much similar pairs. So if New Zealand CAD does rally, Aussie CAD 9 times out of 10 is going to rally too. But so we've approached a pretty significant support level. We're respecting it so far. I like the way we've kind of sold off here. It's very, very corrective. So I think maybe a nice double bottom could present a nice trade opportunity. Maybe like a 4-hour entry or even hourly chart. And then, yeah, I'll be trying to swing it back into resistance. Could probably lock in some gains along the way as well, just in case we do, sell off again. But the way I see it, I do think there's a likely push back into 0.902 on our way there. So Aussie CAD, very bullish. I think there's more upside to be had. Like I said, New Zealand CAD is the one I'll focus on. I think it looks a little bit cleaner. But at this moment in time, I think Aussie CAD is more likely to actually give you a trade setup. Because New Zealand CAD, this is where I'm looking to try and buy. I'm not too sure if the market is going to get there to actually see that entry form. But Aussie CAD already in a nice area. Just kind of waiting for a bit of a double bottom really for an entry. But yeah, coming off a major low, pulling back into a strong area of demand here. This is where we kind of rallied from. Saw a lot of momentum. Now price is back there again. I think naturally it's just a nice place for a buy. So Aussie CAD, big fan of. I think there's a very high chance that we do swing back into resistance there. And also, I'm pretty bullish on like Aussie and NZD. For the most part, I'm actually looking to buy quite a lot of those pairs. Aussie dollar I'm trying to buy, New Zealand dollar I'm trying to buy, Aussie CAD. Not so much Aussie CAD, but I do have a bullish bias in Aussie CAD. New Zealand CAD I'm trying to buy, New Zealand CHF, Aussie CHF, Euro Aussie I'm looking to short, Pound Aussie I'm looking to short, Pound NZD I'm looking to short. Yeah, so for the most part, Aussie and NZD, I actually do have quite a bullish outlook on them. I think I would just focus with Euro Aussie in terms of the shorts, though. I think Euro Aussie looks a lot better. I like how corrective we are with Pound Aussie. Very, very corrective on the way up. Euro Aussie has the same characteristic as well. We have pulled back into a strong area of supply too, which did give us a short. So I do think Euro Aussie and Pound Aussie are both getting ready for a bit of a sell. Pound NZD has already seen some downside. I think we're actually having a decent retest at the moment. Yeah, we cracked through some support and looks like price is retesting for a sell. I actually did miss the entry for this position up here. This occurred whilst I was sleeping. We had the interest rate for NZD at the time, which is why we had that big wick there. But it was a strong enough rejection. And it's kind of left me in the dust a little bit, but I'm not too bothered about that because I kind of boxed the crosses together, and as long as I can find a position on one of those pairs, yeah, that's kind of me happy with. And it looks like Euro Aussie potentially could give me that. So all eyes on Euro Aussie in terms of the crosses for me. Looking for that short into the lows. I feel like I might go with Euro Aussie. And just focus on this one rather than look at Aussie CHF as well. New Zealand CHF, which I was trading last week, just looks very flat right now, so I think I'll leave that one alone as well. I do expect this to break higher too, but it's very, very flat, so I think I'll just stay away, to be honest. If I had to trade the CHF pair, it probably would be Aussie now. I am still very bullish on New Zealand CHF. We're coming from all-time lows, so I think there's still a massive recovery for this one to go through. But I don't see myself trading at this point, especially with how flat and how sideways price is right now. I still think if price was to get the support here, there could be a decent buy, but I'd rather try and get involved with Aussie CHF at this rate. So yeah, I think I'll leave New Zealand CHF alone for now. Um, I think I'll probably just focus on Euro Aussie, to be honest, out the Aussie pairs. Sylvester, gold. Okay, we'll have a look. No problem. MJ, happy to help. So in terms of gold pretty much straightforward for me in terms of my outlook. Um, I was talking yesterday about the break me test of this level, but the breakout hasn't been big enough, and the retest hasn't really looked great, especially on the hourly chart, which is the chart I'm looking to trade. So I'm waiting for price to push back into this zone now, which is 33.25. And again, a lot of trading is about reacting to the market. You don't want to be so predictive because the market can really do anything. And if you're too predictive, it does kind of limit your trading opportunities. If you stay reactive, it means that no matter what your bias is, there's still probably an opportunity you can take advantage of. Even if your bias was incorrect, you can always flip that bias when the bias has been proven incorrect, react to what the market's giving you, and react to a new situation as well. In this case, my bias is still very much up, but the level which I was looking to buy from at the start of the week, not really playing ball or really shaping up how I wanted it to. So I'm definitely going to pivot and focus a bit more on this area. And I like it, to be honest, because it did provide a brief consolidation and a pretty nice breakout as well. So I think naturally anyway, this is actually the better zone to be looking to buy from as time has developed. With this new price action on Monday, I wasn't to know that price is going to have a very strong breakout. Now that I can see that, and now that I can see that price has just about cleared the high, well, this is definitely the more the higher quality level for me to trade from. So yeah, hopefully gold can push down. We do have some news today for USD. Maybe that could give it a bit of a kick to the downside. If maybe you can see some USD strength, it looks like it is finding support. We'll take a look at the DXY in a second, but it does look like DXY is finding support, so that maybe could help gold push down, maybe help silver push down, and we can find some entries maybe later on this week. But for now, gold very bullish, looking for basically a push back into the zone 34.40, where we've got some daily resistance, but I do think there's a good chance we see new highs, to be honest. Now that we've broken out the channel, I'm looking at gold ripping again. Unless we break back underneath the channel, then I will be back at square one and I'll reanalyze from there. But for now, still very, very bullish. But as I said, it looks like the dollar is finding some strength at the moment, respecting support very well. A lot of wicks there yesterday, a bit of a gap to the downside, but for the most part, still seeing strength there. Dropping to the hourly chart. Nice rejection there yesterday as well. Looks like we're pushing up. And again, this is still a very strong level of support. We did see a strong move there. Was that last week? I think it was, yeah, last week. Very nice push to the upside there. So it's still a very strong level, but I do think we are likely to break through. So I have marked this zone here as an area which price may trace into, potentially form another lower high and potentially go and attack lows again. So I would keep a close eye on that 99.2, 99.4 zone. I think that's definitely a sensible place for a short, especially if you're a lower time frame. Personally, I wouldn't short from there because we're too close to support, but that's because primarily I'll be looking to trade the 4-hour chart. But a nice setup, which does look good, will be Euro USD. So trading the exact same thing, really, coming back to retest the zone for a continuation. Basically the inverse of that DXY opportunity there. So I think Euro would be a nice pair to look to trade it. And again, for Euro, I probably would drop maybe hourly chart and trying to find an entry on the retest of the high here. This is where all the momentum came from. Let's see what price can do there, respect it well. Maybe a nice double bottom and base a trade from there back into resistance and hopefully a lot further as well. So yeah, as a whole, Euro USD looks good. Dollar looks like we're seeing some strength. I still do think the weakness is the bigger move. I still think DXY is still likely to push back into the high there. I still think DXY is likely to push back into the low at 98. So the way I see it, more downside looks like the likely move. So naturally, I'm expecting us to push down. How's the yen basket doing? Looks like we're seeing some dollar strength. For the most part, we've seen some yen strength as well, but we're starting to run out of momentum a little bit. I can see we're becoming a little bit corrective. Again, the yen's not looking particularly great in terms of the clarity of the price action. I must say that the price action isn't great. I mean, long term, I still do think the yen is likely to break higher. So that's still my expectation for yen long term, but a lot can happen in that time as well. We are still just about respecting this low here. We pull back into this area, rebounded pretty well from that. And it looks to me that price is potentially forming a higher low. We've got a low over there, lower low, and now potentially a higher low. So a bit of an inverse head and shoulder pattern, if you will. So I do like the looks of things here with the yen basket. I do think price can potentially break higher. But in terms of an opportunity to trade it, well, that's where things get a little bit complicated. I think maybe if you can see price break well, then go through some type of retest, that might be what we're looking for a nice trade here on the yen, which would be similar to the shorts I've been describing on euro yen and pound yen as well. But that's kind of what I'm looking for to get the ball rolling. Other than that, the market's been extremely flat, and I'm really struggling to find a clear-cut trade here. I've been looking a lot at the yen pairs recently, but as things start to become a little bit unclear, I'm looking at the yen pairs less and less and less. So at the moment, I think I'll just let them be for now. Like I said, I do think price can break to the upside, so that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen, but I'm very flexible with that bias. If things change very quickly, if I see very strong rejection somewhere or a significant break of support somewhere, I'll be very quick to change that bias or reinvestigate that bias because, as I said, yen looking very, very choppy right now and not clear-cut at all. USD pairs look a lot better. Crosses look a lot better as well. Some of the CAD pairs have looked interesting. I mean, I'm pretty short bias on pound CAD and euro CAD. But I think it's more so I'm short bias on euro and pound against the CAD because I'm actually quite bullish on Aussie and NZD against the CAD. So I'm looking to buy those pairs. But euro CAD and pound CAD, I do think we can see some downside from. And basically targets around 1.83. If the breakout was bigger, I would have probably been looking at shorts myself, but the breakout's not big enough, so the pullback's not quite doing it for me. But essentially for pound CAD, you can see all the wicks we've got there on the higher time frames. A lot of rejection, a lot of wicks here, really telling us that from a higher time frame perspective, from a weekly perspective, the market is absolutely failing to close above this price point. So the fact that this week we are trading into that price again, if I get this horizontal ray, drag that across, you can see this week's price action again has spiked back into that same resistance. So if you can get some shorts up around here, you're probably in a good place for the week because there's a good chance that we probably continue to fall and push down. Of course, not to say that we can't break to the upside or have a deeper test of the zone. That can still happen too. But for the most part, if you're shorting, you're relatively safe if you're shorting anywhere, in this zone here for the week. If price is going to be bullish and break through this, it's going to be a pretty big candle. It's going to take a lot of effort for us to see that breakout. So the chances are, if price does push into the zone, we probably do sell off again from it. So for the most part, it's a nice place to short, which is why I said, again, pound CAD sells do look good there, but the pullback is just a little bit too shallow for me to hop in on the 4-hour chart, which is the time frame I enter from. So for me, I'm not really too interested about pound CAD, but if we can respect 1.86 here, I do feel like there's a really nice short to be had. Euro CAD, same situation as well. I do think the market is quite overbought, sorry. So I do feel the market's quite stretched and again, likely a push down. I'm looking at this consolidation and the resistance of it. I think there's a very high chance price comes back to retest that zone again. And maybe we potentially rally from there. That could be the case as well. But I do think there's a good chance price is going to be attracted to that level. So opportunities to short EuroCAD on the way down would be a nice play. In terms of actually trading that move, in terms of actually finding entries, I probably would wait to see a push back into resistance here. That might give me the best opportunity to actually trade EuroCAD because otherwise Yeah, not really finding a clean place for a stop loss and a clean place for an entry. Stop loss above the highs here puts yourself in a nice position. But this, for the most part, is just a ranging market. But yeah, I do expect to see Euro CAD push down as well, Pound CAD push down. But I do expect to see Aussie CAD and New Zealand CAD to push up. So there's a big contradiction between my bias for Euro, Pound, Aussie, and NZD, which is why I quite like the shorts for Euro Aussie, because if my bias does play out for both Euro and Aussie, there should be a big shift of momentum, a big sell-off to come for Euro Aussie and the other crosses as well. So staying focused on that pair. Circle Euro Aussie short. Yep, I do very much agree with that. I am very short bias as well on Euro Aussie. And at the moment, just biding my time for an entry, really. Not trying to force anything. Again, I trade in the 4-hour chart. I understand that some of you guys might be looking at this on like an hourly chart, which again makes sense as well. I like the rejection there. I really like the wicks there on the hourly too, actually. Really nice wicks there. And that could actually be a nice entry candle, which closes in the next 27 minutes, 28 minutes. That could be a nice entry candle, something like this. I think from a 4-hour perspective, I'm not too sure if I'd try and capitalize on the full swing down there. I feel like you're asking a lot there from the market. A lot can happen in that time. You know, price may push in your favor, but you could easily get taken out a break even there before price does push through. So I think from an hourly perspective or a lower time frame perspective, you're probably not looking for the big swing all the way to the low here. You could be, but I would advise on securing partials along the way, moving stops to break even, trading stops as well, to at least manage the position. So yes, you could be looking at a big move there, but you want to have other tricks up your sleeve just in case price doesn't get there or price may push against you beforehand. But in terms of an entry, I think it makes a load of sense. Nice rejection, healthy area resistance. Back to these areas, I think you're looking pretty good at. Even back to this low, you could be looking at 1 to 2, 1 to 3 there. So decent risk to reward, I must say. But yeah, Euro Aussie lower time frames, I like the look of. There could be a nice entry there in the next 26 minutes roughly. 4-hour chart, which is where I'm looking to enter myself. I'm waiting for a much bigger rejection before I do enter. I want to see price really shift to the bears, and that will entice me into a trade. Yeah, to me, it does look very similar to Aussie CHF buys. So I'm just going to pick between the two. But I like the rejection I'm seeing. Nice wicks to the upside, and very corrective and slow behavior. And of course, we tapped into this level here too. So the confidences for me are stacked to the downside. We draw a fib from the high to the low in that kind of zone between 0.5 and 0.618. So, yep, healthy retracement in a relatively nice level, and seeing some healthy rejection as price develops there. So, I think shorts for Euro Aussie look really good. Andre, pound USD. Okay, we'll have a look, see. Pound Aussie short. I like Euro Aussie a lot more than pound Aussie. I would focus more so on Euro than pound, but I'll go over that for you. And of course, they're very similar pairs anyway. So if Euro Aussie does sell off, pound Aussie is going to sell off too. It's not like one's going to sell and the other one's going to buy. Maybe they move at different speeds, but that's about it. In terms of the direction, it will be 90% of the time the same direction. But Euro Aussie looks a little bit better to me, but I will go through pound Aussie and pound USD. Alex, good morning. Hope you're well. Welcome to the stream. What is up? What is up? Eyes on metaphor gold. Okay, we'll have a look as well. What's going on with oil? Okay, I'll take a look at oil. I haven't actually looked at oil since yesterday, so I have no idea what's going on with oil. but we'll go take a look. Okay, let me go through pound USD. So with pound USD, everything is still looking really bullish to me. Again, as long as pound USD is trading above resistance here, actually go to the daily chart, see a bit better. So as long as price is trading above resistance here at 1.342, everything is bullish. I do expect more upside for pound. I'm still very bearish on the USD itself. So in my book, pound USD looks like a really great buy. Coming into the week, I was looking for some buys on the double bottom here on the retest of the low, but didn't quite see that happen. Came about 3/4 of the way before price did break higher. But since then, it has created new resistance, which has turned into support. So this looks like a healthy place to base a trade from. Looking at the lower time frames, I like the wicks we're seeing to the downside, telling us that okay, support is holding for the most part. Not really seeing much momentum there. If I drop to the 30-minute time frame, yeah, not much there on the 30 either. Not really giving that statement candle that's showing rejection. I think keep an eye to see how price develops in this area. Whether you're looking on the 30-minute or the hourly, I think this is a nice place for a buy. Basically, that's your impulse. You know, this is your pullback. Now you're looking for price to continue to rip to the upside. And I feel like this is a nice place for that buy and a nice place to put your stop loss underneath as well. So if I was looking at intraday, I would be keeping a very close eye here on pound of buys, waiting for like a strong bullish engulfing candle just to really put momentum in my favor first. And there I would find an entry, you know, back to resistance here at least, 1.355. But hopefully back into the highs here at 1.35868. So that would be my expectation as well. But yeah, pound Aussie, really like the place. Nice place for a buy. Keep an eye on an entry. As I said, for pound Aussie, not the biggest fan of in terms of the setup compared to Euro Aussie, especially in terms of location, because you know where are we right now? Not really at the highs. If I was looking to short pound Aussie, I'd want to see price at least push back into resistance first, and from there I can possibly base a trade. Because at least I can get a stop loss above the highs and it's just a better location in general. But it's the same situation in terms of we've got a very corrective move up here. Again, when price is moving in channels like this, I'm expecting price to pretty soon later break to the downside pretty aggressively. Price is still respecting structure just about. We've got the highs here, which gave us a lovely swing to the downside. Price is back there again. I do expect the bears to kick back in. Looking at the overall price action, we've had a really sharp move to the upside. We took out the COVID highs to our left here. So to me, the market is quite stretched. Certainly in the past few weeks with this momentum here as well. So I do feel like downside is the likely outcome here because the market needs to kind of come back into equilibrium a little bit. Maybe the bigger move is still to the upside for pound Aussie. Maybe we're still pushing back to the highs over there. But I would expect to see some type of bigger retracement first before we do go and make that move. And that short does look like nice opportunity to take advantage of that pullback. So for the most part, pound Aussie looks really good for a short, back into a nice area. This is the lower high, which gave us that low. So as long as price can respect that, I do remain pretty bearish for pound Aussie. But yeah, the entries is an important part, and the entries is kind of where pound Aussie's let me down because we're not quite at resistance right now. I mean, we could sell off from here. We don't have to be at resistance for us to actually see some downside. But in terms of finding a suitable entry with a suitable stop loss, I would want it to be above the highs there and entering, you know, roughly in that zone. Then targets, up to you. Of course, naturally, a pushback to the low would be my expectation. But again, there are many lows you can look to target and secure gains from. You don't have to be trying to push it all the way to the low to look for that home run. You know, there are other targets to contemplate or at least manage the trade from. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, analysis is pretty much the same as Euro Aussie, but Euro Aussie just in a better place, better level of shorting from, and the price action is a bit better for the entry too. But then again, you expect them both to probably play out or both to fail. Let's have a look at oil. Okay, so it looks like momentum failed yesterday. I was expecting price to break to the upside because the plan was, okay, we've got this impulse. This is our correction. Now I'm expecting price to break to the upside, and that's still my thinking with oil. I know we rejected the high, we might still sell off again, but the way that we are still finding support here, and with all those wicks on the 4-hour chart, daily chart, sorry, does still paint the picture that the buyers are still very much in control. We've had some very aggressive selling pressure coming to the market, but it hasn't really amounted to much. Price just found support there very easily. So I do still think we're likely to break to the upside. Whether we push down first, then get the breakout, or we just break out straight away, I do expect price to break higher. And then, of course, we come into our infamous 66 level, which, of course, is this level of resistance. You've got major support there once, twice, and hopefully a third time there as well. And I think that'll be a very nice place to try and base a short from. So if I drop to the 4-hour chart, I think that's a great place to short from. Back into this level, and I do expect to see some sells. And if price was to break to the upside, not the worst situation in the world, because I still think that's a great place for a buy and a great place to find some entries in as well. Just because the zone is just such a big zone on the daily chart, well respected, held price for pretty much a couple of years at least. So it's definitely a level which a lot of bigger players will be looking to see what price does there, or looking to place orders there. So as a whole, oil still very short bias. I still think 66 is a great place to short from. I still do think we're likely to break higher, judging the price action on the 4-hour chart. I do feel like upside is likely move. If we do push down again, I think that's still a decent place for a buy back into structure. Of course, if price does break through this to the downside, then the shorts I mentioned last week do come back into play, and some sells on the break and retest makes sense. But for the most part, because we're still rejecting it, still seeing a ton of wicks on the daily chart, so it doesn't look like that support is going to break. If it does, keep an eye on the break and retest, but it doesn't look likely at this point in time. So if we can push down, great. Nice place for some entries. Hopefully capitalize on the breakout, and then we can speak about the shorts again. All the buys, of course, if it does break above, but the 66 level is still where my attention is. Yes, we'll take a look at US 30, pound CHF. Okay, we'll take a look as well. So US 30. So again, as a whole for US 30, still very much looking for a push back to the all-time highs. So 45k is still very much my expectation for the Dow Jones. In terms of a decent buy, especially from a swing perspective, I would wait for price to break resistance here. If you can take up both highs, that would be amazing, because that really just sets the tone for US 30 in terms of making us bullish again. And then, of course, the pullbacks after will be great. I also still like the buys down here too, even if we spike into this zone here as well. Even if we were to sell off into these areas, I think that's still a great place for a buy. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Even into this zone, I still think that's a great place for a buy. Basically looking at a deeper correction and trying to capitalize on the higher low. But yeah, in terms of the bigger move, the way I see it, the market's kind of just squeezing right now. We're forming some lower highs here, but also some higher lows. So we're kind of squeezing in this kind of wedge pattern, and eventually the market's going to break out. If it does break to the downside and taps into these support levels at 41,400 or 4,800, or we do break higher, then pull back, that's going to be up to the Dow Jones. But in terms of the bigger move, in terms of the overall trend of the market, still very bullish, and I still expect us to push back into the all-time highs. Now it's just up to US 30 to give us the setup, whether it's the break and retest of the upside or the pullback into these areas. We'll wait and see. But right now, I would say the market's kind of just ranging here. So unless you're like on a very intraday time frame, I would avoid getting involved anywhere in this area here for US 30. It's just a lot of noise. But from a 4-hour perspective, clear the highs, pull back, or push into the lows, pull back. That looks like a decent opportunity there. And the risk reward looks pretty good too, especially if you can get these low opportunities. I think it's a trade where you can just sit into the trade, of course, manage the trade to maybe trail some stops, but it's a position where you can maybe even just swing it back to the highs and forget about it. But we'll talk more about that, how price develops.
In terms of pound CHF, not really a pair I'm looking at myself. Not the biggest fan of how it's been moving. We've had this very kind of prolonged corrective period to eventually give us a sell that only just about snapped the lows. So in my opinion, I think the price action of pound Aussie might be doing something similar again in terms of prolonged correction. We might still see the continuation, but I don't expect us just to suddenly drop to the downside. We're not really in a free flow market as a whole. We've been ranging for the past couple of years now, so I'm expecting more kind of choppy price action. I mean, this here is probably the middle of the range. Now we're back in that area, so this is where the most chaos will happen. So in terms of shorting pound CHF, sorry, if we can drive higher again, I still think that's a nice place for a short. As price pushes back into the high there, I still think that's a nice place to short, and I still think it's a nice place to long the market as well. If we can push lower back into the prior low, I think that's a great place to base a trade from for a buy and trade it back into resistance. I can see we're at support right now. I'm not too sure if I'll be looking to try and buy from this area. It's not bringing me a lot of confidence there to try and pick up some longs. If you can push into the zone, I like the shorts, because if I expand to the weekly chart, I know for the most part we're still trading into some resistance here. So shorting from the highs still makes sense. You can see there's still a lot of wicks there to the upside in recent weeks as well, and recent wicks too. So there's a lot of evidence of price struggling at these highs. So if you were to drive back into resistance, show some signs of rejection again, well, there's a good chance that price does sell off too. And likelihood with support here, like I said, we're back in that equilibrium. I do feel like we'll probably go for a prolonged correction as well. So the buys at the lows there make sense too. And for the most part, I'm pretty bearish on the CHF currency too. I do think we can see more weakness for CHF. I do think Aussie CHF, New Zealand CHF, CAD CHF will likely see more upside. Pound and Euro, I'm kind of I don't really have a clear setup, but for the most part, I do feel like CHF weakness will step into the market. I feel like Swiss yen will push down. Actually, that reminds me, I forgot to take a look at CHF JPY, didn't I? I feel like CHF JPY will push down as well. I'll take a look at that in a second. But I'm bearish on CHF, so I'm also wanting to buy pairs against it. Not so much pound, but I do like the sells here. Still in a nice zone of resistance. I still feel like you can capture sell. In terms of CHF JPY, this was mentioned ages ago, but I completely forgot. If I have missed out a pair, if someone did drop a comment for me to take a look at a certain pair, and I completely just missed it, don't be worried to put it in the chat again. Of course, don't spam the chat, but if I have missed it out, and it was a while ago as well, just jog my memory. But with Swiss yen, with this one, I feel like we're in an awkward place here. Again, it's another market which I feel like is kind of just forming a bit of a wedge pattern right now, with some lower highs and some higher lows. So for the most part, I would say this is a bit of a range. I can see prices respecting resistance pretty well. In terms of we're back at this zone here, prices had a rally into that zone, respected it once, twice, third time, and just about a fourth. So I do have a bearish bias for this one. I do feel like price is getting ready for a bit of a drop here. But I'm just not seeing an opportunity to actually find entries, and that's the important thing. How can I actually trade this move? Well, a nice trade would be if we can spike into the highs again, push into the highs, maybe spike through them, see a strong rejection. Well, that would be a nice trade, because you're positioned up the high, you can get a safe stop loss for the trade, and that allows you to at least capitalize on a push back to the low end of the channel here. So you can probably at least lock in some gains. Even if price does go against you, you can walk away for a small win. If price does break for you, well, it's a position you might be able to hold all the way back to lows here even. That is definitely a strong possibility too. If you can see that momentum pick up, similar to the move we had on the way up, we might see something on the way back down. So in terms of finding a nice short for Swiss yen, I would wait for us to spike back into the highs again. I think that would be the best bet. As of right now, we're kind of just hovering in between the wedge right now, not really at the lower end, not really at the upper end, just in the middle. So I would strongly advise not to be getting involved in these areas. That's where people are going to lose money. That's where you're going to have stop losses, faked out very, very easily. There might be some buyers as we approach the low. If you're bullish, there might be something like that to pick up a long. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that, to be honest, but I feel like the bigger move is to the downside based on what we're doing on the higher time frames, based on where we're situated. So I'll be more focused with something like this. And I do think as a whole, the yen basket, the yen itself, is likely to gain a lot of strength as well. I do feel like that's the bigger move. So if the yen basket is going to slowly get ready for that breakout and breakout to the upside, should push Swiss yen to the downside as well with it. But yeah, in terms of my watch list for the remainder of the week, I know it's only Tuesday, so still a long way to go. But I think Euro Aussie and Aussie CGF at the top. I'm just going to pick the better one between them. Hopefully, you can even get some entries this afternoon. I mean, we are already starting to see momentum creep in. This candle does close in 2 hours and 8 minutes, so I'll keep an eye on that candle. I do want it to be a lot bigger than that, to be honest, before I do take a trade. The rejection looks okay, but it's not as good as I want it to be. So I'm waiting for a much more significant candle, which again can very much happen. 2 hours is still a long time for that 4 hour candle to shape up. So I'm not going to rule it out, but I would want to see a much bigger candle for entries. Aussie CHF, same situation as well. I would like to see a much bigger candle than that for entries. Again, where we're trading, really nice place. Again, if I can get a strong engulfing candle which closes above the noise here, because this is kind of a bit of a range here. If I can get a candle that closes above that, that would be enough for me for a trade. That shows momentum is shifted. It shows that support is held. We've broken out consolidation. Momentum's back with the buyers. I wouldn't mind some entries there. Take it back into the high and hopefully back into that range there. And same thing for Euro Aussie as well. If it kind of, I mean, it doesn't probably have to engulf that completely, but it would be nice to break below that as well. So yeah, something like that for either one of them. I'll look take some entries and get into some buys. I would say those are the two which are ones that I can probably take some entries now. Yeah, USD pairs, yen pairs. Yeah, not quite ready yet. Gold, not quite ready yet either. Gold could shape up later today. I'm not going to rule that out because we do have some news later today which could speed things up, but I don't think I'll get a trade at least until tomorrow morning. So gold, I probably don't have to do too much today either, but Euro Aussie, Aussie CHF pairs that could set up this afternoon. F Trader 460 CAD yen. Okay, we'll have a look. No problem, Dimar. Happy to help. If you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out. I do really appreciate each and every one of you who has liked the stream, subscribe to the channel. It does really help promote the channel, promotes the content as well, and it shows that you are enjoying the content as well. So makes me want to make more of it as well. So if you are enjoying the content, like I said, drop a like, does really help out. Subscribe to the channel and of course hit the bell too so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Yeah, we'll take a look at CAD yen. I haven't looked at CAD yen all stream, I don't think. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of CAD yen, so I don't blame myself because the price action for me doesn't look particularly great. It's kind of just within this range here. Equal highs for the most part, equal lows. So I'm not too interested with price until we actually commit to the upside or commit to the downside. Basically, until we break support resistance, I don't really have so much of a bias, to be honest. I mean, I do think price can break lower, but we're nowhere near that. So I'm not going to really entertain that bias until I see signs of us breaking support here. Then yes, I'll be interested in some retests and some shorts. And likewise with the resistance, if I can see price breaking through that, then I'll be interested with some break retests and some longs. At the moment, I can see we did a good job at respecting support here. We did a good job at respecting resistance here. Now we're kind of in the middle of that as well. So it looks like we're ranging within a range here. So that's just chaotic price action in itself. I mean, respecting support here, might see a bit of a rally off that. I don't really see much going for CAD Yen. Again, setups are important, but conditions of a market is very important as well, especially if you have a strategy or an edge that performs well in trending markets. Well, don't trade in choppy markets. This is choppy. I know I focus on trending markets. That's where I want to be operating in. This is not trending anymore. If it does break the low or break the high, perhaps we will have a trend at that point. So that's what I'll be looking for. But for the most part, CAD Yen is very, very flat. So I don't really have much to say apart from wait for highs or lows to clear. And then we'll probably can drive a much better bias and much better opportunities for CAD Yen afterwards. But especially intraday, I'll leave price alone. Now for Aussie dollar, I'm still very bullish on this one. Again, conditions aren't looking particularly great here with CAD Yen as well. Very choppy behavior. I'm basically looking for the correction of this impulse here. Lovely push to the upside, spike into highs. I'm kind of looking to see if price can push back into this zone here. 0.625 lines up pretty well with the 50 of the fib. So I do have some nice confidence in this zone for a buy. But I'm not too sure if we get there. I'm basically looking at this as being a bottom for this move. So I do think in the long term, we're going to push to the upside. For now, we're operating within this channel and we've been doing so for quite a while now. And it looks to be holding price very, very well. So I think in terms of opportunities, if we don't get this trade here, I think the best bet for Aussie dollar will be some buys at the low end of the channel. We've been so consistent with all these higher lows at the lower end of the channel. So I would say if price was to push back into support again into the low of the channel, there's a good chance that we do respect that and price does turn around again. If you can see some healthy rejection there, I think that's still very much a smart buy for Aussie dollar. Personally, I'm not so interested in that. I think this is the much better trade and probably give me a lot more bang for my buck there. I think in terms of the risk reward where I'm positioned, should be a nice clean trade if that can actually materialize. But for now, we're still chugging away to the upside. So buys at the low of the channel make the most sense and probably swing back into resistance there. So Aussie dollar, not my favorite pair, but we're doing a pretty good job at the low of the channel. I'm still very bearish on USD itself. That should help Aussie dollar push up. I think for the time being, DXY is looking a little bit strong, so that could push us, push Aussie dollar down to actually get to the support level. You can see dollar is starting to drive higher there. If I drop to the hourly chart, yeah, we are looking pretty bullish. So looks like we might see a push back into this zone, 99.4. And if we get there well, I do think that's a smart place for a short as well. More so, smart place for a buy for euro. I think that's a smart place for a buy. What's that, 1.138? I think that's a very smart place for a buy. So, especially intraday, I think buys still look good for the USD pairs. I think euro looks probably the better one. I'll keep an eye on pound USD. Just waiting for some rejection at that level. Still looking pretty bearish though. Need to see some momentum step in. Strong bullish engulfing candle, that would be enough. I mean, this candle's about to close in 30 seconds, so clearly not going to see the momentum with that candle, but of course the next candle or the one after that could definitely change things around. But still a very smart place, but no kind of opportunity there just yet. BTC, haven't actually looked at BTC today. What's been going on with Bitcoin? Yeah, very flat still. I do worry with Bitcoin. We're still kind of struggling at highs, to be honest. I do worry with Bitcoin. I think as a whole, the market is still very bullish, so I think buys still look good. I think if you can see a nice rejection of the lows here, that's still a smart place for a buy. I would, however, watch out for this level because I think that's still a smart place for a sell. And we could see some downside from there as well. But I like how price is still rejecting this area. I think as long as price respects the zone, which is 102k, as long as we respect that support area, I stay bullish as a whole for Bitcoin. If you do break through this, then I lose that bias. But from a counter trend point of view, we've got some lower highs now. I think that is actually a nice short opportunity there for BTC. Might give us a drive lower, then we can speak about some buys back up again. But I'll keep an eye on 107k and keep an eye on 102, 101, 500. I think they're smart levels to look at. But yeah, I do worry for BTC because we are losing momentum at the highs, which is not a good point to do that. You want price to rip through the highs. The fact that we are slowing down might mean that BTC does go through a bigger correction. So keep an eye on that. But anyway, guys, we have come up to the end of the stream. If you have found it useful, please be sure to smash the like button. It does really help out. I will be live again tomorrow, as always, every weekday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. UK time. So if you're free, tune in, come say hi, chat with us. If you have enjoyed it, like I said, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It does really help out, and I do really appreciate each and every one of you who has done that so far. Thanks for chatting with me on the stream. You guys make the stream for what it is. Otherwise, it's just me talking to myself. So I do really appreciate you guys tuning into the streams. And of course, hit the bell so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Check out the Discord whilst you're at it. It's in the description below. Free to join. You can chat with other traders, share ideas there as well. And check out for updates too. And of course, I'm there too. So if you want to chat with myself, you can reach me on the Discord there as well. But guys, really appreciate you tuning in. Drop a like before you leave. I will be live again tomorrow, so hopefully I do see each and every one of you tomorrow. But guys, take care, have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.